There's a great deal of history that you should know. But I'm afraid that I must continue my writing. Here. Most of what you'll need to know is in there. Keep it well hidden. For all reasons you'll discover, I can't send you to Riven with a way out. But I can give you this. It appears to be a linking book back here to Dunny. But it's actually a one-man prison. You'll need it, I'm afraid, to capture Gan. Once you've found Catherine, signal me, and I'll come with a linking book to bring us back. There's also a chance, if this all goes well, that I might be able to get you back to the place that you came from.
Jo? Wat verder jij hier? Kijk, hou waar even. Dan moeten we wippen met. Tagema. Rekoa. Tagema. Musu rekoa. Isirap. Isirap. Umutika buku wa nai. Isirap. Umutika buku wa nai. Buku wa nai. Isirap. Buku wa nai. Buku wa nai. Buku wa nai. Buku wa nai.
Hello guys, it is RetroGamingNow, and we are here with Riven, the sequel to Myst. This is one of my favorite, if not my favorite game of all time, and I've been looking forward to doing this game for a long, long time, and I have finally found a way where it can work. So, let's get started. There's a lot of stuff to process in what just happened. And honestly, for this first episode, I don't think we're going to be moving from this spot, because I'm going to read our journal here and also talk about what's going on. So the game started with us back in Dunny, which is where Mist ended. I hope you've played Mist. This is the sequel to Mist, clearly. And his Atris was there asking us for a favor, and from what he was saying, he was a little bit cryptic, didn't say a whole lot, but he mentioned a couple things. One, he can't send us to Riven with a way out, but he did give us the journal. And he also said that he gave us a trap book, which we had in Mist, and he said it's a one-man prison. It appears to be a linking book back to Dunny, but it's actually a one-man prison. And he said we were going to use that to capture Gen. I think we don't really know who Gen is right now, but apparently that's what we're going to do. And then finally he said once we found Catherine to signal him, and he'll return us back. So we have to find who Catherine is, and we also have to capture Gen. That's a lot of stuff that we don't know what's going on. Okay, and so then we linked to Riven, and as soon as we got here, the cage came up and locked us in, and a guard or something came by, and he was confused, and he was trying to speak our language, it almost seemed like, but he couldn't do anything, and he saw, however, that we had the trap book, and so he pulled it away from us, and he opened it up, and if you saw, he had like a smile on his face because it appears like it's a linking book, like Atris said. And so he was about to use it, but then he got shot and fell to the ground. And another character, dressed in red with goggles on, came by and released the lever and dragged him away and let us out, taking the trap book with him. So right from the start, we sort of get the sense that there's perhaps some sort of conflict going on. And we don't know anything about the place that we're in right now, except for that it's Riven. And so, to get started, I'm going to go ahead and read this journal that Atris left us, and it's the only thing that we still have that he gave us. So let's get started. They held for more than 30 years, but the corrections I made to Riven have finally failed. The island has resumed the familiar pattern of decay that is the hallmark of my father's work. I must now race to implement this new patch before it's too late. I only hope that my revised theories are sound. Next entry. Revisions to Riven completed. There are still a number of minor adjustments which need to be made, but the basic corrections have been entered and should be working. Something's not right. I've been monitoring the instruments for several hours now, but have thus observed no change. It's possible that I've made an error, though I checked my entry against my pre-notation and can find no discrepancy. I've not had a rest in nearly 3 days, so it may be that I'm just not seeing it. If the fault is with my foundational assumptions, however, perhaps after a short rest I will see something. Success! It appears that my repairs have been effective after all. The gateway image has become noticeably clearer, and although it is impossible to know this with absolute certainty, the island seems to have quieted itself. Just a few more weeks of work and I should be free at last to go there myself and attempt to bring Catherine back. The past 8 months have left me little time to think, to devise a strategy for getting her out of there. I've received no sign from her in all that time. I'm afraid that... No, I must assume that she is all right, lest my fears undermine my efforts to bring her back. I did not create the Age of Riven. Unlike my father, I have never presumed to have such power, and yet the future of all those who live there has fallen into my hands. So far, I've managed to read the page before it turns. The island continues to appear stable, and I would like to believe that I have saved a dying world, but the theories of one individual cannot support the lives of real people indefinitely. I must get everyone off of Riven as soon as possible. The problem now is Gen. I'll never be able to rescue Catherine and relocate the islanders if he is still the man he once was. I haven't seen him in over 30 years, but his history forces me to assume that he is still a threat. His myopic mission to restore the Dunny civilization has left too many innocent cultures dying in its wake, and would continue to do so were he to once again be free of the confines of Riven, or the Fifth Age, as he coldly titled it. The universe has been safe from his corruptive influence for the last 33 years, because no one has been able to leave that age, the last linking book out of Riven having been lost in the star fissure upon my return to Mist. That was my intention, to maroon my father on Riven by removing all the existing links to other worlds. And since the art of constructing books had long been lost with the fall of the Dunny, he would be trapped there for the remainder of his lifetime, and effectively segregated from the countless other worlds that he would have invaded. In effect, that is what we have achieved. But the way it fell, however, was no one's ideal. Though the sting of the incident has gradually faded from my memory, the deep pain of the responsibility for what actually came to be has never left me. At the time, it all seemed so clear. Gen's destructive path could not be allowed to continue. But it was never my choice that the innocent inhabitants of Riven, who had already suffered so much, would be the ones to pay for it. Enough. To dwell in the past is to die in the present. The situation is not the same as it was then. The knowledge I've acquired in the years since that time has yet to be applied to this problem. I think I have the solution. Why did it not occur to me sooner? I do not know unless the idea of it had been pushed out with the thought of my sons. A prison book. Many years ago, during the hunting expedition through the ruins of Dunny, I chanced upon a formula for a most unusual type of book. Unfortunately, due to the fact that my father was then in the habit of confiscating my discoveries, I was forced to leave it behind. Years later, however, as part of my efforts to protect the vulnerable worlds linked to the books in my library, I was pleased to find that I could still recall most of the formula, and with little experimentation, quickly succeeded in creating one of these devices myself. The procedure is actually quite simple. By altering key lines of text, but slightly, a normal linking book's connection can be partially severed, such that anyone who attempts to use the book will be permanently trapped in the dark void of the link. That is, unless someone else uses the book, at which point that person would become trapped, and the first person displaced back into the world. The technique can be applied to books that have already been written, changes to the original text being so slight that anyone who is unfamiliar with the code will be unable to detect them. If indeed my father is not changed, what better bait could there be than a book that appeared to be a link back here to Dunny? Trouble. My nightly analysis of the island's condition has revealed that the tremors have begun again. The pattern, however, is new. The disturbances are the result of the changes I have made. This did not at first concern me. However, tremors of this type were one of the possible side effects that I anticipated during this initial phase of the island's readjustment. Still, in order to verify my assumptions, I decided to calculate again, incorporating the new data. The results were not what I expected. The damage to the understructure is more extensive than I'd realized. I can no longer go to Riven as planned. Catherine, forgive me. I must act while I still have the time. The signs are barely visible, but there's no question that the island's deterioration is accelerating. Total collapse is imminent, unless I can keep ahead, and that is becoming increasingly difficult to do. With every passing moment, I gain a clearer picture of the incredible chaos that my father's economy of worlds has yielded. Looks like I can't go to this page. There we go. But it is a dismaying process. The complexity of the problem is overwhelming. There is no end to this. The last few days have all but convinced me that the collapse of Riven is inevitable, and that, at best, I can only strive to delay it now, and hope that at some point the island will become stable enough to risk a rescue attempt. I think I've come up with a way to subdue the tremors. It will require my exclusive attention for at least a month or two, so it may be necessary to discontinue these journal entries for a while. Something truly miraculous has happened. Beyond all conceivable probability, someone has finally found my lost missed linking book and freed me from this prison. I immediately realized that this could be the solution to my dilemma, and I believe my mysterious benefactor is willing to assist me. I'm still not sure it can work. The logistics of such a scheme are formidable, but the mere fact that it may now be possible for me to continue my repairs to Riven, and yet proceed with my original intent to find Catherine has given me renewed hope. The last few days have left me little time to work out the remaining problems with sending someone else to Riven. It did occur to me, however, that if a way could be found to signal me once Gen had been captured, it would no longer be necessary to take a real linking book to Riven, and risk the possibility of inadvertently releasing Gen. The deteriorated state of the gateway image makes the use of a visual signal impossible, but the picture remains a reliable indicator of Riven's condition nonetheless. By measuring and interpreting variations in the noise patterns, I am still able to observe the basic changes that occur in the age, even though I cannot see them. The problem is that my instruments can only detect changes that occur on a fundamental level, It seems unlikely that an individual could effect such an elementary change from within an age. The idea may be foolish. Still, there is a known weakness that may be worth investigating, an anomaly that appears as a rift between two separate systems, the star fissure. But how, or even if this fact could be exploited, I cannot say. Sending someone to Riven also means that once I receive the signal that they are ready to return, I would have to leave my writing in order to take a real linking book there myself. However, provided my father was safely out of the way, this should take very little time. After that, assuming the island does not incur much damage in my absence, it should then be a relatively simple matter to hold it together for long enough for Catherine to return to Riven and evacuate the remaining islanders. Predetermining a signal without knowing the topography of the island may prove impossible, but I'm afraid there can only be one answer to the question of whether or not I should send my friend to Riven with a way out. The potential for failure will be greatly diminished if the prison book is all that is taken there. I'm sure my father is expecting me to bring a linking book to Riven. May he not be disappointed. Okay, so a lot of stuff to think about here. So, reading this, we can sort of get a picture of what's going on. So, Atris, before the events of the original Myst, was dealing with his father, and apparently in their childhood, his father, Gen, is what we learned, was not a great father, and we also heard that his ages are prone to instability, and it just seems like the guy is not great. At least that's the way Atris sees him. Atris says that he's not he's the clear villain right now. And it also seems apparent that he has captured Catherine. We're not quite sure who Catherine is, but it's someone who's close to Atris, and he is worried about her. And part of the reason he's worried is because the age of Riven is unstable, is what he said. And when he was working on his writing at the beginning, what he's doing is trying to write in stability enhancements to keep the age together. And he also mentioned that they're islanders, and so there must be other people living here. We already saw two people here, and that he doesn't want to harm them. And so the situation right now that Gen is in is he is trapped here on Riven, somewhere on Riven, and he cannot escape because there's no linking books. So he removed the final linking book, and it fell into the star fissure. We don't really know what the star fissure is, but as he said earlier, it apparently has the power to keep... Atris says that somehow a star fissure is going to be the way that we're going to signal him to come back. What does that look like? I don't know, and I don't think Atris knows, but he does have some way to monitor the age. And then the trap book. So that was correct. The trap book is a little different than the trap books from Myst, and the fact is it looks like a linking book. So it looks like it's going to go back to Dunny. And Gen, who's been trapped here in Riven, is going to want very badly to return to Dunny, and so the idea is that he will use this trap book, which appears to be a linking book, and get trapped in it. But, the problem is, right now, we don't have that trap book because it was taken from us. And we are kind of standing here not really knowing what to do, since already the big part of his plan is gone. We don't know who Catherine is, but we know we have to get her, and we have no idea how to capture Gen. We don't even know who Gen is, but we cannot capture him because, well, we don't have our trap book anymore. So, there we go. That is our depressing first episode of Riven. I promise in the next episode we will start exploring and going around, but we had to get this out of the way first to sort of give us a look at what we're dealing with here. So, this has been Retro Gaming Now playing Riven, one of my favorite games, the sequel to Myst, and I will see you all later. Have an awesome day.